Hello everyone. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and felt that you were standing at the edge of a decision you didn't know she was making? You thought the attraction was mutual. You laughed, you connected, you felt the spark. But somewhere in that silent, invisible space between you, she was already weighing you. Not just for tonight, not just for a date, but for something deeper, something that determines whether she'll ever let you close enough to touch the most intimate parts of her life. Before a woman chooses a man in that way, the way that says, yes, I'll let you in, there are steps. Some of them are conscious. Does he make me feel safe? Can I trust him? Others are instinctive, buried in centuries of human survival and desire. How does he carry himself when the world is watching? Does his presence make me relax or does it make me tense? And here's the truth most men never hear. Sex is rarely the first decision for her. It's the final confirmation of a decision she's been building for days, weeks, sometimes even months. And those steps she takes before that moment, they are everything. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain, step inside her mind, understand the quiet tests she gives you long before you ever touch her. You see, when a woman meets a man, she is not simply reacting to what he says in that moment. She is collecting pieces of him, tiny impressions, a tone in his voice, the way his eyes meet hers or avoid hers, how he treats the waiter, whether he listens to her without letting his gaze drift to his phone. Every small moment, whether you realize it or not, is part of a larger mosaic she's building in her mind. And before intimacy ever becomes an option, she will go through her own quiet, internal process, not because she is calculating in a cold way, but because desire for her is tied to trust, to emotional safety, and to a sense that her choice will not cost her dignity or peace. The first step begins before you've even spoken a word to her. It is the atmosphere of presence you carry into the room. Women are deeply attuned to energy. Yours will announce itself before you say hello. If you walk in restless, uncertain, your mind scattered between insecurities, she will feel that before she even knows your name. Presence is not about dominance. It is about grounding. It is that quiet confidence that says, I am here fully and I am comfortable with who I am. When a woman feels that in a man, something subtle happens in her body. Her guard does not drop entirely, but her curiosity wakes up. She wonders, who is this man who doesn't seem to need approval, yet notices the room? Who is he that can stand still in himself without apologizing for existing? It is the unspoken beginning of attraction, not based on looks alone, but on how your presence alters the emotional temperature of the space. The second step happens quickly after, the moment she tests the way you make her feel emotionally. This isn't about whether you can make her laugh in the first 5 minutes, though humor can be a bridge. It's about whether she feels safe enough to be herself. A woman will pay close attention to how you respond to the parts of her she reveals, small parts at first. She might share a quick story about something she likes or a moment from her week. The way you react will tell her whether you are a man who listens or a man who waits for his turn to speak. This is where many men get it wrong. They think impressing a woman is about performing, proving worth through charms or achievements. But a woman's deeper evaluation begins with a simple question she often asks herself unconsciously: can I exhale in his presence? When you meet her with genuine attention, not scanning the room for someone better, not glancing at your watch, not hurrying her words along, you are communicating something primal. You are telling her, without saying it, you are worth my full presence. That one feeling, that quiet emotional safety, will matter more than any pickup line or boost. I have sat across from couples in my office where the woman could recall the exact moment she knew she could trust the man sitting next to her. Sometimes it was when he defended her in a casual conversation. Sometimes it was when he listened without judgment to something vulnerable she shared. And sometimes it was something so small, a simple act of noticing her mood shift and asking if she was okay. These first 2 steps, your presence and her emotional safety, are the roots from which all other attraction grows. Without them, everything else you try to build will feel unstable. With them, you are no longer just a man she is speaking to. You become a possibility in her mind. And once those foundations are in place, she moves to the next stage, which is more subtle but just as powerful. It is where she begins to watch, not just what you do when you're with her, but who you are when you think she isn't watching. When she begins to watch you beyond your direct interaction, she isn't looking for perfection. She's looking for congruence. Do the things you say match the way you live? You can tell her you value kindness, but if she sees you speaking to a stranger with irritation, she will remember that. You can tell her you are confident, but if you shrink in the presence of another man, she will feel that. This third step is the observation of integrity, not in the moralistic sense of good versus bad, but in the subtler sense of alignment between your words and your actions. Women are exquisitely sensitive to this because, for centuries, survival depended on their ability to detect it. A man whose words are honey, but whose actions are empty, is a danger to a woman's heart, sometimes to her life. So she notices, she sees whether you keep your word when you make a small promise, even something as simple as, I'll call you tomorrow. She pays attention to how you handle disappointment or frustration. And here's the interesting thing. When your actions match your words in small ways, her trust builds in ways you cannot measure in the moment. You don't see the subtle shift in how she looks at you, but it's there. The fourth step is less about trust and more about something primal. Her perception of your capability. Capability is not about how much money you make or how many skills you list on a resume. It's about whether she feels you can navigate life with competence. Can you solve problems instead of avoiding them? Can you adapt when things don't go your way? Do you lead yourself, or do you wait for someone else to lead you? Women feel this on an instinctive level. It's why some men without the conventional markers of success are still deeply attractive, because they radiate the sense that they can handle what life throws at them. They don't collapse at the first sign of challenge. They don't require constant emotional rescue. They stand in the storm without pretending it isn't raining, but also without panicking. And capability doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it's in the way you carry a conversation, knowing when to speak and when to let silence deepen. Sometimes it's in how you handle conflict, without aggression, without retreat, but with the calmness of a man who knows his own strength. The fifth step begins to bring in desire in a more conscious way, her experience of your polarity. Polarity is the magnetic tension between masculine and feminine energy, not in the rigid stereotypical sense, but in the way your presence invites her to relax into a complementary space. A woman will often choose a man not just because he is safe or capable, but because he awakens something in her body she doesn't feel in the presence of others. This is not purely sexual. It's a blend of emotional and physical signals that tell her, with him, I feel more alive in my femininity. That could mean she feels playful around you, more expressive, more willing to tease or be teased. It could mean she feels the freedom to let go of control, even if only for a moment. Polarity is created when you stay grounded in your own energy. You are not trying to become what you think she wants, nor are you shrinking to make her comfortable. You are simply anchored in yourself, and that anchor creates a safe harbor for her to move in and out of vulnerability without fear. When these three steps, integrity, capability, and polarity, are present alongside the first two we spoke about, the way she looks at you will begin to change. She will start to imagine you not just as a man she's talking to tonight, but as a man she could choose fully, without regret. And it's at this point that her evaluation moves from the external to something much more personal. She begins to consider not just who you are in the world, but who she is when she's with you. By now, if you have passed through the first 5 gates, presence, emotional safety, integrity, capability, and polarity, she is no longer simply meeting a man. She is experiencing you as an emotional climate. In her body, a quiet readiness begins to take root. She starts to imagine what it might feel like to let you closer. But there are still 2 final steps before she says yes to that deeper kind of closeness. The 6th step is how you see her, not just as a woman, but as this woman. This is where so many men fail without realizing it. They think desire is enough. They think wanting her is the compliment. But here's the truth. Most women have been wanted before. What makes you different is not that you desire her. It's that you see her in a way that makes her feel irreplaceable. When a woman feels invisible, when she feels you could just as easily replace her with the next pretty face, she will not open herself to you. Desire without recognition feels like hunger without taste. It's hollow. But when you notice her in a way that goes beyond her appearance, when you comment on her wit, her kindness, the way she tells a story, or the fire in her eyes when she speaks about something she loves, you are telling her, you are not just any woman to me, you are you. This kind of seeing requires attention. You can't fake it, because women sense the difference between genuine recognition and a recycled compliment. When you notice something that no one else has put into words for her, you enter a rare territory. Her trust deepens, her desire stirs, and a quiet thought forms. If he sees me this clearly when I'm clothed, how will he see me when I'm not? The 7th and final step is perhaps the most difficult for many men, because it demands a balance between strength and vulnerability, the space you create for her desire. Many men approach intimacy as something to get from a woman, an achievement to win, a door to unlock. But women respond to men who treat desire as something shared, not taken. She needs to feel that your attraction doesn't just consume, it invites. That your desire for her is strong enough to be unmistakable, yet patient enough to let her meet it in her own timing. Creating this space means not rushing. It means not pressing for the next step when her body or her words are saying not yet. It means knowing that anticipation is not the enemy. It is the electricity that makes the eventual connection irresistible. A woman will choose a man when she feels that her yes will be met with the same respect as her not yet. When she knows that your interest is not contingent on instant access to her body, but on the richness of the connection between you. That respect, paradoxically, is what often accelerates her readiness, because desire thrives in freedom, not pressure. This is the moment where her choice crystallizes. She looks at you and realizes he sees me. He makes me feel safe. He makes me feel like a woman without taking my identity. He is present. He is capable. He lives his words. And most of all, he leaves room for my own longing to bloom. From here, intimacy is not a transaction. It's an arrival. It's the natural unfolding of all the small, careful steps you've already taken without needing to manipulate or force. And when she does choose you, she is not simply saying yes to a physical moment. She is saying yes to you as a man she can trust with her vulnerability, her pleasure, and her story. What most men miss is that these 7 steps are not a checklist you run through once. They are a way of being. A woman might go through them in days or in months, but once she senses them in you, she will never forget it. And even if the timing isn't right, even if life pulls you apart, she will remember the way you made her feel. Not just desired, but deeply chosen. And here's where the real power lies. When you understand these steps, you realize that your role is not to perform for her approval. Your role is to embody the kind of man who naturally inspires these responses in a woman. The kind of man whose life already reflects presence, integrity, capability, polarity, and respect before any woman enters it. Because the truth is, women don't only choose men in the moments before intimacy. They are choosing constantly based on what they see, feel, and sense over time. And when you become the kind of man worth choosing, you stop chasing and start attracting. When she finally decides, it's not a calculation, it's not even purely conscious. It's a deep, wordless recognition. This man feels like home, but he also feels like fire. The problem with advice about attraction is that it often becomes a performance. Men hear phrases like be confident, make her feel safe, or don't rush her, and they turn those into tactics. They fake listening while planning their next move. They copy body language from YouTube videos. They sprinkle in compliments like seasoning from a shaker, hoping the right combination will unlock her interest. But here's the thing. Women are deeply intuitive. They may not always be able to explain why they feel what they feel, but they can sense when a man is wearing a mask. They can tell when a man's presence is a costume he puts on for the evening, and when it's something he has cultivated for years. This is why the 7 steps are not tricks. They are reflections of the man you have become long before you meet her. If you try to fake them, they will crumble the moment you face stress, disappointment, or challenge. If you live them, they will be there without thought. So, how do you live them? It starts with presence. Presence is not built in the moments you need it. It is built in your daily life. Put away your phone when you eat. Look people in the eye when they speak. Notice details in your environment. Practice slowing down enough to feel the moment you're in, rather than racing to the next one. If you can't be present with yourself, you will never be fully present with her. Then, emotional safety. This comes from your relationship with your own emotions. If you are afraid of vulnerability in yourself, you will shut down or deflect when she opens up. If you cannot hold space for your own disappointment or sadness, you will rush to fix hers instead of simply being there with her. This doesn't mean becoming her therapist. It means becoming the kind of man who can witness emotion without panicking. Integrity is forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When you say you will do something, do it. Not because you want credit, but because you are a man who honors his own word. This applies to yourself as much as to others. If you promise yourself you'll wake up early, keep that promise. If you commit to a goal, follow through. Every time you break your own word, you chip away at the trust you have in yourself, and trust in yourself is the foundation of her trust in you. Capability is not about impressing her with your RA, it's about being the kind of man who can navigate life, learn to solve problems without collapsing. If something breaks in your home, try to fix it before calling someone. If you face a challenge at work, look for solutions before complaining. Capability is a muscle. It grows when you use it. Women feel it in you not because you talk about it, but because it shows in how you move through the world. Polarity, the dance between masculine and feminine, cannot be faked with swagger or bravado. It comes from being anchored in yourself, comfortable in your own skin. Masculine energy, in this sense, is not about being controlling. It's about providing a steady frame in which her energy can expand. This means you don't crumble when she's emotional, you don't get defensive when she challenges you, and you don't try to dominate her into submission. Instead, you meet her with the kind of calm certainty that says, you can bring all of you here, and I will still be here. Seeing her requires you to pay attention in a way most men don't. It means asking real questions and listening to the answers. It means noticing the small ways she expresses herself, the way she tucks her hair behind her ear when she's nervous, the change in her voice when she's excited. When you notice those things, don't just store them, let her know you see them. This doesn't mean flattery, it means genuine recognition. Finally, creating space for her desire is about letting attraction breathe. Many men either smother a woman with constant pressure or act so indifferent that she feels unwanted. The sweet spot is letting her feel both your interest and your patience. This is not about manipulation. It's about understanding that desire grows in the space between two people, not in the chase to collapse it. When you live these steps daily, they stop being strategies. You stop thinking, okay, now I have to make her feel safe, or I need to show capability here. Instead, you become the kind of man who naturally makes women feel safe, who naturally moves with capability, who naturally sees people deeply. And that's when attraction becomes effortless, because you are not performing, you are being. Women are drawn to men who have built themselves, men who have faced their own insecurities and fears, not by hiding them, but by meeting them head on. A man who has made peace with himself is magnetic, not because he's perfect, but because he's real. And here's something important. Living the 7 steps isn't just about women. It changes how everyone responds to you. Friends trust you more. Strangers open up to you. Opportunities find you. Because the qualities that draw a woman in are the same qualities that make you more effective, more grounded, and more alive in every part of your life. If you live like this long enough, something shifts. You stop needing women to choose you for you to feel valuable. You choose yourself first. You build a life that you are proud of, with or without her. And ironically, that is when women are most drawn to you, because they feel the difference between a man who needs their validation and a man who offers his presence as a gift. There is something profoundly human about wanting to be chosen. From the earliest moments of life, we seek recognition. Someone's eyes meeting ours with warmth. Someone's voice saying our name with affection. And when it comes to romantic love, being chosen by someone we desire is one of the most intoxicating experiences we can have. But here's the truth. When a woman chooses you after going through these 7 steps, it is not simply about attraction. It is about trust. She has placed in your hands something infinitely more delicate than her body, her openness. That part of herself that is willing to risk rejection, risk disappointment, and risk heartbreak in the hope of connection. The real question is, what will you do with that choice? Because the steps we've talked about, presence, emotional safety, integrity, capability, polarity, seeing her and creating space for her desire, are not just about getting to the moment of intimacy. They are about sustaining the kind of connection where intimacy keeps deepening long after that first time. Too many men see her, yes, as the finish line, not realizing it is only the beginning of a much richer journey. When you see intimacy as a door you walk through once, you treat those steps like keys you can discard after entering. But when you see intimacy as a dance that unfolds over time, you understand that these steps must be practiced again and again, not just to win her, but to keep her. Presence is not just for the first date. It's for the quiet mornings when she's making coffee and you're tempted to bury yourself in your phone. Emotional safety is not just for early conversations. It's for the nights when she's angry or afraid and needs to know you will stay, not flee. Integrity is not just about promises in the beginning. It's about the small commitments you honor every day, the unspoken trust that she can rely on you. Capability is not just about solving problems in the world. It's about facing challenges within the relationship. Polarity is not just about sparking attraction. It's about keeping that spark alive through years of shared life. Seeing her is not just about noticing her beauty in the first months. It's about continuing to see her when familiarity could make you blind. And creating space for her desire is not just about patience before sex. It's about never taking that desire for granted, about continuing to be a man she wants to choose again and again. When you live this way, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing loss in the same way, not because you don't care, but because you know you are living in integrity with yourself. You know that if she chooses to stay, it's because she truly wants to, not because she feels trapped, manipulated, or guilted into it. And if she leaves, you know you did not betray your own standards to keep her. This is the real freedom of becoming a man worth choosing. You are no longer at the mercy of chance. You are not waiting for the right woman to appear so you can suddenly become this man. You are already him. The woman who recognizes it will be drawn to you not because you convinced her, but because she could feel it before you even spoke. And when she does choose you, the intimacy that follows will not feel transactional. It will feel like the inevitable result of two people who have both been paying attention, two people who have both been saying yes, in small ways long before the first kiss. You see, real attraction isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about resonance. When your way of living aligns with what she longs to feel, you don't have to sell yourself. You don't have to compete with every man in the room. You simply have to be visible enough for her to notice and steady enough for her to trust that what she's feeling is real. And here's where I want to leave you, with the reminder that the 7 steps are not about bending yourself to fit her. They are about becoming so deeply anchored in who you are that the right woman will recognize you instantly. She will feel your presence before you speak. She will test your safety and find it solid. She will watch for cracks between your words and your actions and instead find alignment. She will see capability in the way you handle life and polarity in the way you hold yourself with her. She will feel truly seen and she will sense that her desire is free to grow at its own pace. When all of this is in place, her choice is no longer a gamble. It's a certainty she can feel in her bones. And your connection will not be built on adrenaline alone, but on the kind of foundation that allows passion and trust to live side by side. So, the next time you find yourself drawn to a woman, remember her decision about you begins long before the bedroom. It begins in the quiet, almost invisible ways you show up in your own life. And every moment with her is either building or eroding the choice she will eventually make. The question is not, will she choose me? The question is, am I living in a way that makes me worth choosing? Because when you are, you will find that women who align with you don't just say yes once. They say yes over and over again. And that, my friends, is where true intimacy begins. Not in the moment she lets you touch her body, but in the moment she knows she can trust you with all of her.